All right, we should be live. So. You look nice too. You got a haircut, huh?
About 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome everybody. This is Mary Nack.
And Wes Walker. Hello.
With Compass. And
you surprised me. You always introduce me.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know. I thought you should introduce yourself this time.
Okay.
I don't know why. I guess
I wasn't ready.
We look nice. I
didn't know what to say.
I like the Cozumel background.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
It reminds me of you've been using it exclusively, it seems like lately.
Well, I put it on last week when you and I were on here, and I just didn't take it down. So that most of our meetings are on Google Meet or Blue Jeans or one of the other ones. So the few times I pop back on Zoom, it's still on there, and I'm like, oh, okay, looks good.
It seems like all of my meetings. Well, yeah. Anyway, whatever. But you know,
or I'm not on camera, because most of my Zoom calls I'm not on camera, like all those the 10x10 trainings and all that stuff we've been doing.
But what I was going to say is Google Meet has filters. There's filters in Google Meet. You have to go into the settings and.
No, I know. I'm just saying I haven't bothered to. It's only on here because I put it on here last week, and it's only been 2 or 3 times it's popped up. That's all.
I like how the palms are blowing and the waves are waving. I mean, it doesn't, usually when people have a screensaver like that, it's just kind of static, but this is sort of dynamic. So
yeah, it really does look like Cozumel. It's because the water is that color and everything. And
it's interesting, since this is totally off topic, because we were going to talk about.
Do we have a topic?
We do this week. We were going to talk about private exclusives, remember? But before we get into private exclusives, I was just going to say, with Lake Michigan, they have these mussels that have invaded the lake, basically. And when 30, 40 years ago or whatever, Lake Michigan was always pretty muddy and murky. But now with these mussels filtering the water, it's in the summer, the lake is just like that. It's amazing. It can be turquoise like that.
Yeah. Lake Michigan, more than any other body of water I'm familiar with, changes a lot. Yeah.
Well, it's actually not a good thing for the environment and for the fish and the birds and whatever. It's not been a good thing, because it's an invasive species, but it sure does look pretty. I don't know why the ocean is turquoise why is the ocean turquoise in the tropics and not further north, I wonder.
I don't know.
I have to ask.
Supposedly water is blue because it's reflecting the sky, but obviously that's not the case in the Caribbean, where it gets that turquoisey color. But I always like how in most places we're at in the Caribbean, when the water is turquoise like that, where it at the horizon where it meets the sky turns to like a lavender purple color. It's really pretty.
Well, you can see that in your screensaver, actually.
It's teeny on my screen, so I can't tell.
Oh yeah. No, you can see that kind of a bluish purpley anyway on the horizon. But anyway, we'll have to ask one of our scientist pals to enlighten us as to why the water is turquoise in the tropical regions versus the northern climes. But
so sounds like a topic for one of our
right, exactly. That's what I was just thinking.
Scientist on
for one of
we could just Google it and answer it in 10 seconds, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling that we'll end up finding way more than we wanted to know. I didn't want to know that much about it, or we won't understand the answer, one of the two. Yeah, last week I wrote my, Wes and I do weekly email blasts, and if you want to get on our mailing list, just let us know. We'd be happy to include you. But we just, we do these weekly emails, and last week I wrote one about longitude and latitude, and um, I actually thought it was kind of stupid because I thought everybody knows this stuff, but I had so much positive feedback on it. People really liked it, so it just goes to show you just never know, right? You just never know. Anyway, so yeah, so next week, but next week you're writing one about population density, right?
Yeah.
That was really interesting. I read that. It was really interesting.
Yeah, my original intent with it was, I've got, an architecture and urban planning background, and I kind of geek out on urban planning issues, particularly population density. It's, such a huge part of urbanology. And so my original intent was to write just about why population density is important, and how it affects the life of a city and its inhabitants. But as I was researching it, I don't think I had realized that there had been such a negative response to density during COVID, particularly early on, when people felt like it was dangerous to be, in densely populated areas, and were supposedly, as we were being told, fleeing the cities and, going out to the suburbs and rural areas and stuff, which to some degree I think was true, but not completely. And we've seen now later into COVID that didn't really last and wasn't to the extent that everybody was telling us, but that what I was finding is all the research was showing that actually you were more likely to be healthy even during the pandemic, in the densely populated areas. And of course, it has to do more with behavior than it did being near people, or how many people were around you. The pandemic became so politicized, and so many people were behaving differently in different locales, that it had, your safety had to do more with that than it did anything else. So yeah, now it's showing that you were actually safer, not only during the pandemic, but for all other health reasons. Diabetes is lower, obesity is lower, people exercise more, you're less likely to even be killed in a car wreck. People that live in denser locations than not, more likely to survive accidents and car wrecks and stuff because of access to closer, better access to healthcare and emergency professionals, et cetera. I mean, there's all this different
I
stuff.
thought you were going to say because of traffic, because you can't go over 20 miles an hour.
Or people aren't in the cars as much, and they're not driving as much. They're not on the road, as much as they are in less populated areas. And those areas can be, really dangerous. So it's just interesting that all the stats I was coming across. So the article became more about the safety in the dense locations than it did just from an urban planning standpoint. But it was pretty interesting as I dug in.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's true that, and I think you had made a comment about in the more rural areas, it's definitely get in your car and drive. Whereas in the city, of course, and I've experienced that since moving over. We're living at Sheridan in Granville now, and I mean, literally everything I need is within a 3-block walking radius. I can walk it. I mean, the grocery store,
therefore you walk. Yeah.
What's that?
Therefore you do walk also. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, my gym and my mechanic who works on my car, and the public library, of which I am an A+ client, Chicago Public Library, because we read a lot of books and have a lot of books. And I was out with a client yesterday. She teaches at a seminary down in Hyde Park, and they're getting ready to move. And she gave away 14 boxes of books
Oh, wow.
to clean out 14 boxes. I'm like, yeah, I'm with you, girlfriend, because
Yeah.
I have been there. It's like, I don't know. I swear to God, I think these books, I think they breed during the night when we're
I was
sleeping.
just sitting here looking at this right before we talked, thinking, what am I going to do with that?
Put it in one of those those little library things. That's what you do with it. That's
I don't have one out
Give
here.
it back to me. I'll put out. What do you mean you don't have one? I probably have a dozen within a 3-block
Not
radius.
out here, I said, out here.
Oh yeah, well that's because
The less densely
you're in
populated.
Lake County. Lake County, they don't read.
Yeah. but yeah, I don't have 14 boxes, but I definitely have a lot I should go through. I've been looking since we've been back downtown at the apartment more, and there's a lot of books and stuff between the house and the apartment. We got way too many that I won't go back to. So yeah, I think I need to get rid of a lot of that. Yeah. Maybe not 14 boxes, maybe 2 or 3 boxes or 4.
Well, and every book is $20 or so, or average, I bet, a $20 average. And so when you take $20 books and you have 30 books in a box, what's that? $600 in books.
Yep.
So, yeah. So I am an A+ client at Chicago Public Library, and my tip on that is you can go online. Everything's online. You just put in what the book you want. I mean, it's hardly never that they don't have a book that, and if they don't have it in their collection, they have, which almost never happens because Chicago Public Library is such a huge system. But there has been, I think that book that I gave you, the one you were holding up, I don't think that was in their system, which is why I think I ended up buying it. But
and you hated it so much you gave it to me.
Yeah, stupid. I didn't like that book, so I gave it to Wes.
Here, read this.
Here. Well, it was a book that was assigned to us in one of our groups. So they pick a book every month for us to read, and that was the book that month. But I could have, if I were willing to wait, they could have gotten it from another library in the state, but it was going to take too long, and because we pick a book every month, so I had to get it within a time frame to get it read. But if I'd been willing to wait, they would have gotten it for me.
Yeah.
Because they have, and when we lived in Lake Forest, the Lake Forest Library had that arrangement with other libraries, like on the North Shore and whatnot, that if they didn't have the book, they could get it from one of the other libraries. They have associations like that. So there's almost no book. Maybe if it's a brand new book that's just come out, it takes them a little while to get it. Or if it's a popular book, like I remember my book group wanted to read Michelle Obama's biography, her autobiography, when it came out. And of course, in Chicago, it was such a popular ask. I think it took 6 months to get that book.
Oh, wow.
If you waited for the library.
See, that's one, I don't know, but I didn't buy it, but I was to say that's one, if I were you, that if I wanted to read it, that's one I would have bought to keep on the shelf. But
well, I bought it because it was too long of a wait to get it from the library, even though they ordered hundreds and hundreds of copies. I mean, they always tell you when you go in and you put it on, you go on. I started to say, but I didn't finish the thought. You go online. Maybe this is another topic for our weekly email. Tips on how to use the library. But you go online and you have an account. You open an account online, and if you're looking for a specific book, you just put it in the search bar, and if it's available immediately, they'll get it from whatever branch has it. And it takes a couple of days usually, but then you get a notice saying that the book is available to be picked up at your local branch where you want to pick it up. Or if it's something that you have to wait for, then you can put it on hold, and And then depending, but they will tell you how many copies of the book they have and what position you are in line and waiting. So it's really a very nice system. And I mean, you can tell if they've got 450 copies of the book and you're like number 386 in line. Well, you're probably going to get it sooner than if they only have 20 copies of the book.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right. I think it would be a good subject for one of our research emails, because I think a lot of people don't realize how advanced the system has gotten, but since it's just been, a collection of books sitting in a building.
right.
There is a lot of changes, and especially since COVID, I think people probably are out of the habit of doing things like that, So yeah, that might
Well,
be.
well, particularly, well, I mean, they were locked down like in March of 20 when we all locked down. The libraries, I think, were actually closed for about, I don't know, 3 months maybe, but then they reopened and
Yeah, but people didn't reopen.
right.
Their habits haven't. Yeah, I think a lot of people's habits have, been somewhat permanently, or at least currently still changed, and that might be a good thing to get back in everybody's circle,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk
You're
about
the expert on that.
I am the expert on it.
You know the library system.
I am, well, when I was a kid, my mom took us to the library every week. We would go to the library and she got us into that habit. And thank goodness she did. My mom was a reader. I mean, when she got into my mom was 97 when she passed away. So she became pretty she became a shut-in. She was always very mentally alert, but she had arthritis really bad and couldn't really. So reading was her pastime, but she was always a reader. I mean, she was always a reader, but as she got older, it became how she entertained herself. So
Yeah.
it was wonderful. Wonderful legacy that she left me, taught me how to use the library.
And I think that a lot of people are readers, but aren't very familiar with the current library system too, so that'd be one, I think.
Well, yeah, and I mean, not to put the publishers out of business by any means, because obviously they're in the business of selling books, and that's a good thing. We don't want those guys to go away. We need people to publish books, but
to do both, though.
But I mean, when you look at the cost of a book, it's like, holy moly. I mean, and I don't blame them for that. I mean,
well, it's not the cost of a book, it's the cost of the collection of the book.
Well, yes, exactly. And for a book that you don't really want in your library now, obviously there's books like that, like the book I just finished, Atomic Habits, which actually I do want in my library, but I haven't bought it. I took it back to the library. But
now you'd want it and you could still buy it. Yeah,
I actually was thinking I'd buy it for Carl, but I don't know that he would read it. So you know how that goes. I'm sick of buying books for people that they don't read, but like a certain somebody that I know sitting right in front of me right now.
Well, it's hard to get into it when you hand it to me and go, I hated this. Here.
Yeah, I guess I didn't do a good job of marketing that, I guess.
Plus, we had already seen the interview with the author that neither one of us were impressed by. So I think that had already tainted it.
The guy came across as phony as a $3 bill, actually. I mean, he just struck me as being a phony. Anyway, all right, let's talk about, what we said we were going to talk about.
No, it's too late for that. We're going to have to put that off.
Oh my gosh, you're right. It's 11:30 already.
I got to get on with my AM.
Yeah, okay. All right, good. Well, anyway, Catherine Borowski, who's a property manager that Wes and I both have known for years, and she's going to be joining us next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We never do, but she'll be joining us next week, and that'll be fun. She's great. And well, for sure ask her something about property management, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
She manages a condo for one of your clients, right?
Yeah, well, she manages smaller buildings, which is really, really difficult to find. Not property management, where the Class A high rises that have management companies or whatever. She takes on those smaller 1 off, 2 off, 3 off, 4 off units or whatever
Mhm.
for individual owners. So that's
Mhm.
really difficult to find if,
Yeah, it's a real niche that she has. So she's terrific. So anyway, Wes and I have now known her for probably what, 10 or 15 years, I think, haven't we? 10
yeah,
years anyway.
yeah.
So, all right, everybody, have a good week. We'll talk about private exclusives next week for sure.
Or after the next week after class.
Have a good week.
All right, bye, everybody.